So I want to talk to you about receiving the sun as a source of energy as well too, along with the new diet of food and hydration that I've given you. I'm going to read you this passage from a book called Luminous Life by Jacob Lieberman. And this is a passage called Living Water. So according to Pollock, experimental evidence shows that light imparts energy to water, including body water. That energy may, in some instances, provide enough energy for sustaining life. Pollock and his team have confirmed that there exists a fourth phase of water beyond that of solid, liquid, and gas. The body's cells are composed of this living water, which differs from normal water as it is imbued with light. Fourth phase water, H3O2, is more viscous, dense, organized, and alkaline than H2O, and has more available oxygen due to its chemical structure. It has a negative charge and, like a battery, can store the energy contained in sunlight and deliver it as needed. Since the energy required for structuring water comes from the sun, you might say that the body is a biological photocell filled with living water that is constantly charged by the sun. So the importance of receiving the sun with this diet is catastrophic. Like, you have to get it as much as possible, especially now it being the summertime in Michigan or wherever you are for whoever this video is. What I like to do, I live in California, I get it almost every day or every day I possibly can. And I like to mix up the different protectants that I use. And I say protectants, but really it's a base, is what we can call it, that I like to put on my skin, and it absorbs the sun into your skin a little bit differently, along with nutrients and other minerals, and also can create a more pleasing color aesthetically. So what I'm going to use today is a mix of shea butter and coconut oil, and I'm going to go ahead and apply that and show you what exactly I do in terms of receiving the sun. So here we go. So I got my little mixture here. It's about 70% shea butter and about 30% coconut oil. It's been outside for a little bit, so it has definitely melted a bit, which is better for application. It smells really good, and it's probably going to look really cool too on me. So I apply it to as much surface area as possible, as much as my skin will actually receive the sun. Back, neck, face, everything. Now if you wanted to, I could recommend that you might want to use some kind of SPF for your face, but for me, I like the color that comes naturally from it without the SPF. If I know I'm going to be out there for a long time, then I will use some SPF. So there's the upper body. I'll spare you applying it to my lower body as well. But if you're only going to be in the sun for about 20-30 minutes, then laying out is fine. Although typically I don't recommend you laying out at all, because receiving the light directly in one frame, in one format, meaning that your body being in the same position, is not good, because you're not mixing it up, as in, like, the surface area has to be, how do I want to say this? The light can't hit one part of your skin for too much time. So if you're moving in the sun, then it's perfectly fine. You probably can be out there for an hour or even 2 hours the first time. But if you're just sitting there and baking, then what's going to happen is the sun is just going to keep hitting the same spot, and then ultimately it's going to get it to a certain point where it's going to burn. Whereas if you're moving around, the odds of you burning are way less likely. So I like to use this example of if you were to take a potato and you were to put it in your broiling oven at 500 degrees, and if you were to leave it in there for 10 or 15 minutes, the potato will probably start burning on its skin. Now if you take that same potato and you open the oven door, place the potato, and in a minute you take it out, and then you place it back in there again after a minute, you can probably do that for up to 20 or 30 times, who knows, before the potato starts burning or reaches a certain temperature where it's actually beginning to cook. So movement is important when you're in the sun, and if you're not moving, then don't stay in the same position for too long. So what I like to do is incorporate yin yoga into sunbathing. So what that does is it forces you to create a whole new shape every 3 to 5 minutes, while listening to your favorite music and receiving the sun and switching, let's say you're doing, pigeon pose. You're going to be getting the back of your left leg for 3 to 5 minutes while, you're facing upwards for maybe a minute of it, and then before you go down and place your torso to the ground, and then your back for a couple minutes. So, and then switching the leg up. Right there alone, you'll have hit, all sides of your body about a minute or 2 minutes each. So you basically want to incorporate some type of movement or some type of stretching facilitation into receiving the sun. So if you're at work and and you have to get outside at lunch break, take your shirt off, go to the back, drive away to a park, read a book, do whatever you got to do, but make sure you're receiving the sun somehow, some way. Now the book also says that 98% of the sunlight is actually being received through your eyes, and I'm not really sure what it's actually touching on, if it's you're accessing the nutrients that comes along with the vitamin D, but it also says in the book that you want to get as much surface area as possible, receiving the sun as well too. So I hope that was helpful. Best of luck. If you have any questions, let me know.